What's up, YouTube? I'm the Calcar 131, and in this gel test, we're going to be trying out the Hornady 220 grain Flex Lock Critical Duty. So technically, this is a 45 ACP plus P 220 grain Flex Lock, which I guess the Flex Lock is like the technical name, I guess, for their Critical Duty, Critical Defense line. I'm assuming. For the record, Hornady, one of their most well-known lines of handgun rounds is the Critical Duty and Critical Defense. I messed up before I came out here to do this test, and I didn't actually look up what the difference is. I know, like, the basic difference is Critical Defense is more, they market it more towards civilians. Critical Duty is supposed to be, I guess, a bit more barrier blind, I think. So it's better for, like, duty carry for, like, law enforcement officers or agents or anything like that. However, I have read here and there that the Critical Defense, the civilian, dirty civilian load, has a tendency to underpenetrate from what I've heard. So when I was doing some working on my review for the XD-M 45, and I've been doing some gel tests of defensive loads in 45, I figured, fuck it, we're gonna get the big boy round, get the Critical Duty, and this is again 45 plus P, so should get a little bit of extra velocity out of it. I'll get you guys a better picture here in a second. You should be seeing on screen right now. But the number one thing the Critical Duty, Critical Defense ammo is known for is for having this little polymer tip on the end of it. You might be able to see that, and if not on camera, I'll get you a better picture, but it has a polymer insert in the hollow point. From what I understand, I'm not an expert, but I believe that does two things. One, it stops it from clogging. So if you're shooting through clothing material or any other kind of barrier that could clog up and cause a hollow point to not work, it can't because there was that insert in there. The other thing that I believe it does is, I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere that it also helps with expansion because it's sitting in that hollow point. Whenever it hits a material, that insert gets pushed back, and that helps that hollow point sort of flower out and expand. I believe. I'm not positive. I'll throw up on screen if I got any of that just blatantly wrong. But gel test. I'm going to be doing it with the XD-M 45, which is a 4.5-inch barrel. I'm going to be 5 yards away. 2 blocks of 10% clear ballistics gel. They're kind of old and dirty, and I need to get new ones, but I got a chronograph set up. Hopefully we should be able to get some results. So let's do it. 220 grain Critical Duty, 45 ACP plus P, 5 yards. Let's see what we get. 1041 for velocity. All right. So I got a little look at it as I was moving the camera over. We looking pretty fucking perfect. All right. Crap off. So overall penetration, 14 3/4 inches. The standard I go for in all of my gel tests is, damn it, 12 to 18 inches. So as you can see, it's pretty much just perfectly right in the center of that. You want to know why I use 12 to 18 inches? Watch this video right up here. Made an entire video on it because people don't understand. Watch the video. So it is perfectly right in the center. It is pretty much as exact as you could get. The 12 to 18 is the standard I look for. So obviously 14 to 16 is sort of like that perfect, absolute sweet spot in the middle. It's right there. It's 14 3/4, almost as perfect as you can get. The damage from the temporary stretch, quote unquote, the tearing that we see around the permanent cavity, is as it's represented in ballistics gel, which clear ballistics is going to represent it differently than real ballistics gel, organic gel, and neither one of them really compare to how it works in a human body. As I've said in a lot of my videos lately, human tissue is more elastic than any ballistics gel. So none of these really represent what it does in a human body, but we can compare the damage from the temporary cavity to each other because we're using it in the exact same medium, even if it's not how it's going to be shown in a human body. But the neck, not that there is much of one, but it looks like, I'm not even going to call her being a neck, maybe half an inch before it starts to really expand and we start seeing the damage from the temporary cavity. I have to be a little more specific on that going forward because the temporary cavity, all it is the transfer of kinetic energy from the bullet into the tissue surrounding the permanent wound track. So the permanent wound track is just the permanent cavity is just the wound track. A .45 caliber bullet is going to have a .45 permanent wound cavity. The temporary cavity is when that bullet transfers kinetic energy into the tissue surrounding the permanent wound track and causes that sort of like ballooning out effect. However, there needs to be enough energy imparted from the bullet onto the tissue to cause damage in the temporary cavity. By definition, and look at the name, temporary cavity, it's temporary. What we're seeing here and what I'm about to measure isn't really the temporary cavity, it's the damage done to tissue from the temporary cavity. So, once again, roughly half an inch. So, little rant, little information dump there, I suppose. Continuing on, roughly half an inch to, oh, 8 inches, roughly, it looks like. So, once again, that it really is in line with a lot of what I've seen lately. Generally, from in my own personal testing, it seems like the damage from temporary cavity that we see in ballistics gel, and my gel that I use at least, it generally ends up being just slightly more than half of the wound track. We got almost 15 inches of penetration. We have roughly half inch to 8 inch, a little over half of the wound track for that tissue damage as we're seeing it. You guys could see that pretty well already, but here's the wound track. Once again, that you could kind of call that a neck. I don't know. But then it starts to really expand. There's that quote unquote tissue damage from the temporary cavity. There's where the bullet ended. It looks like it might have punched forward a little bit more before it bounced back, but it settled again at like 14 3/4 inches. Here's the bullet as recovered. There's that polymer insert I talked about. So again, it looks like it did kind of exactly what I said. It helped it expand. When I pulled it out, it was literally just sitting right there. But here is the actual bullet where that polymer insert sits. Again, I'm willing to bet part of what it does is help it expand. But very nice, uniform expansion all around. I measured at roughly 0.63 inches, so bumped up that permanent wound cavity. So some final thoughts on the Hornady Critical Duty 220 grain 45 ACP plus P. Honestly, did very well. It was reliable. I mean, I haven't shot much of it. I shot a little bit of it out of my XD-M 45. Not mine, but I'm reviewing it. I shot a little bit of it, and I'm going to shoot the rest of the box. So we'll see how that does that. But should be perfectly reliable. The one big thing that really helps, I believe, it seems like that polymer tip kind of helps give it a little bit more of like a rounded point, not so much like just a flat cutoff like some hollow points. So that should help with reliability a little bit in certain handguns that have issues with hollow points. As far as actual performance, I mean, you saw it was pretty much perfect. The penetration was great. The damage done from the temporary cavity was pretty in line with what I've seen in other gel tests. So I would say definitely. And also, one of the other big things is it's super well known. Hornady Critical Duty, I believe in 9mm. I think it might be the official load for 9mm of the FBI. If not, I'll try and throw up here on screen so you should be seeing. I'm pretty sure it's used by a number of different law enforcement departments and agencies and uh, stuff like that. So it's a very, very well-known round. Frankly, I'm not overly surprised that it worked very well. It's their critical duty line, so it should, quote unquote, should be pretty barrier blind if you have to take a shot at a threat through various kinds of barriers. So if you're looking for a good self-defense load in 45 ACP, I think the 45 plus P 220 grain Critical Duty would be a pretty good choice. So if you enjoyed the video, you found it entertaining or informative, give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Tell me in the comments below what you think of the Hornady Critical Duty line. Tell me what other rounds you want to see me test in the future. I'm the Car 131, signing off.